what's up? I'm Jason. So I've got a problem. I live in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and I like hockey, but I'm a few hours from the nearest piece of ice. So figured try the next best thing. Build a rod hockey table, but not just a simple one off the internet. Want it to be a little bit cooler than that. Alright, so I started off with a Stiga rod hockey table that I bought off Amazon.com. It was around 130 bucks or so. The reason I went with their table specifically is because their players can actually play behind the net, whereas most other boards just stop at the net. And they're also licensed to sell all the different NHL teams as well, so you can pick your favorite team and all the other ones you would like. So next I drove out to Vegas, about 3 hours away, to a place called Reclaimed Secrets, and bought a nice big wide piece of cottonwood, and that's what I'm going to use for the playing surface. Unfortunately, it's really hard to find something really as wide as you need for the playing surface, so you are going to have to probably sand, plane, and join a couple of pieces together, and that's what I had to do. So luckily my wood was wide enough that I'm only going to have to make one join on it. So here's where it is clamped down and being glued together. I also took the top piece of plastic off of the actual Stiga board and drew out the templates of where all these skating routes and the goalie hole and everything is going to be. So next, after the join had dried and it was ready to route, I bought a router and for the first time routed some wood. That was probably the most difficult part of the process in trying to keep the line straight. So now off to the side I got to make these little sticks that are going to raise up the players, because when you put your wood on top of the actual plastic playing surface, it's going to raise it up. So here's a look at how I attach those sticks using the shrink wrap that you use for electronics around those sticks to keep them stable. And here's a look at the board with all the pegs raised up about another 1.25 inches so that all the players will move around correctly. Now, since the Wiesbaden Vikings aren't in the NHL yet, I went ahead and bought some blank Stiga players and just painted my own Vikings. So now I can play with the team again, only as a little plastic person on a piece of wood in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Now that I've routed, sawed, sanded, and raised pegs, I wanted to put the wood on top of the table and see if everybody moved around exactly as they should. Alright, so everybody moved around well, and those who didn't, I touched up, made some corrections here and there with a little sandpaper, and now it's time to mark all the lines and get ready to paint. So here's the table getting painted and got taped down so that I have nice crisp lines. Because I wanted my board to have a really cool personal touch to it. One half of my board is the Wiesbaden Vikings and the other half is the Buffalo Sabres, my two favorite teams. There's no way that I could paint those emblems, so I just printed them off of a laser printer and cut them out and used just a very thin film of glue on the bottom and put them there, which I'll poly over later. Alright, so I'm putting lots of coats of poly on there, and in between drying times I am using a Dremel to cut the sidewalls off of the plastic board, because we're going to replace that with some really cool wooden sidewalls. I also got under the board and cut out the goalie hole because we're going to make a cool puck return chute, so you don't have to fish in there with your fingers and try to get it out of the net. So for the four corners of the board, since I don't know how to bend wood, I just cut thin curved pieces out of my cottonwood and stacked them up and sanded them and joined them. And here's a look at all four of the stacked curved corners and the four straight sides there sitting next to the board, just checking out how it looks. And now it's time to actually glue it all together. So I put the playing surface on top of the plastic mechanical underpinnings, put the sides on and drilled the holes for the rods, put those through, and then just kind of glued it all together. Next, I went around the entire playing surface with some thick, cool yellow rubber bands to give it that authentic look. Unfortunately, I didn't math so well, so my sidewalls aren't as high as I really wanted them to be. I was going to put some cool advertisements on the side, just like you would see in the real playing arenas where these two teams play, but it didn't work out that way. Too late now. So next I took some measurements and built a stand for it, but I didn't attach it down to the stand, not just yet. So I made my way out to Home Depot about 45 minutes away and bought a that 4-inch funnel looking thingy, and then bought some pipe, stuck that to it, held it all up with steel wool while I glued a bunch of sticks to it to hold it together. So that black piece of plastic right there, that strip that goes left to right, make sure you leave those on there whenever you're cutting your sidewalls off. Those are going to be really important for holding it all together and putting your puck return on. Okay, now that my puck return is sufficiently cemented to the board, now I can turn it back over, put it on the stand, and attach the stand to the cart using maybe some L-shaped brackets or something like that. Whatever works. Now, because I want this puck to really move, I'm going to use some shuffleboard powder to make this board really slick. But the problem is that powder would fall through onto the floor. So I got some this thick plastic, like you'd use for painting anyway, and some double-sided tape. And I put it under the table like this, built like a little udder basically to catch all the sand, and taped it and screwed it up onto the inside, so it looks like that. And then that will catch all the sand that comes down. It'll collect in that little cup, and then whenever you just want to recycle your sand, you take the cup off, pour it onto the playing surface, and then put the cup back onto the bottom. Now the board actually came with the 2 pieces of plastic on the far end and the near end, but I also wanted plexiglass on the left and right side to keep that puck in play. No delay of game happening here. So I also lined the goalie hole with a bit of that black plastic that we used for the udder earlier, and gives it more of a finished look, and you don't just see that white plastic under there that we'd cut up earlier. Built out the cabinets, put doors on them, latches on them, and stained and polyed them. So it turns out the puck return worked too well, and the puck would just shoot out the side instead of settling down in the catch box. So I used a couple of 4x4 wall patches and made a little metal lid that you can open up so you can make sure that your puck doesn't fly out. Then I added some personal touches to really finish it off. So now, full disclosure. Even if you already possess all the woodworking tools you're going to need, between the board and the wood and everything, you're probably going to drop about 500 bones on making this. Time-wise, I spent a couple evenings a week and many hours every weekend for a full 2 months. 2 hot, buggy Mojave months putting this together. Well worth it though. But I'm not done just yet. Next step, I would like to integrate a Raspberry Pi, some IR brake sensors, a touchscreen scoreboard, and I'm going to have to learn how to do some Python coding. But hopefully when I get all that integrated, it's going to be 10 times as cool as it is now. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have fun making your own. Now I'm going to go practice some more so that I don't get beat on my own table. Take care.